7 years into his tenure as Apple CEO, Tim Cook remains a popular guy.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, how are you?
Hey,
Tyler,
great to
nice
see
to meet
you.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Very
Great
nice
to see you.
Especially among Apple fans, especially at an Apple store, and especially after the announcement of the newest iPhone.
Good to see you. Hey.
This sea of admiration is a stark contrast to the current mood toward his tech CEO peers, who've been accused of converting their customers' secrets into a commodity for advertisers. And, as a byproduct, undermining liberal democracy.
Good to see
How are you? Really good to see you again. How have you been?
Good.
I'm meeting Cook today because he and Apple want to tell you that on this issue, they're not like the other guys.
In March, you said we were maybe past the point where tech companies could regulate themselves in terms of privacy. So what should we do now?
I see privacy as one of the most important issues of the 21st century. We're at a stage now where more information is available about you online and on your phone than there is in your house. You know, chances are your phone knows what you've been browsing, knows your friends, knows your relationships, has all of your photos. I mean, just think about this and the magnitude of information. We take that very seriously. I'm not a pro-regulation kind of person. I believe in the free market deeply. When the free market doesn't produce a result that's great for society, you have to ask yourself, what do we need to do? And I think some level of government regulation is important to come out of that.
And at this time, I'd ask you, please stand, raise your right hand.
You've testified before Congress. How would you rate their literacy in terms of tech and privacy?
I think it's a challenge. I think there is a need to work with Congress and the staff to make sure that we do our jobs of helping them kind of come up to speed on what's possible. Technology itself doesn't want to be good. It doesn't want to be bad. It doesn't want anything. It's up to the creator. I'm exceedingly optimistic that this subject is now in the vocabulary and getting discussed. And now we've got to all figure out a way to take it to the next level and change some things.
Can you give me some specific examples of times when you have chosen user privacy over profit?
Well, that would be a very long list, to be honest with you. I mean,
You can list it.
the way we go into product design, we challenge ourselves to collect as little as possible. And when we collect, we challenge ourselves to make it not identifiable. And we don't do things like we don't read your email, right? We don't read your messages. You are not our product. We're not forming the detailed profile and then allowing other companies to buy the opportunity to target you. It's not the business that we're in.
If you don't use these massive data sets to improve Apple services, are you going to be left behind by your competitors? Are your principles around privacy going to doom Siri to be worse than Alexa?
No. The narrative that some companies will try to get you to believe is, I've got to take all of your data to make my service better. Well, don't believe them. If whoever's telling you that, it's a bunch of bomb. We try to keep as much of your information on that device as possible because we want the device to know, because you count on the device to be smart for you.
In terms of privacy as a human right, does that apply to how you do business in China?
It absolutely does. Encryption for us is the same in every country in the world. We don't design encryption for the US and do it differently everywhere else. It's the same. And so to send a message in China, it's encrypted. I can't produce the content. I can't produce it in the United States either. If you lock your phone in China, I can't open it. The thing in China that some people have confused is certain countries, and China's one of them, has a requirement that data from local citizens has to be kept in China. We worked with a Chinese company to provide iCloud, but the keys, which is the key, so to speak, pardon the pun, are ours.
But haven't they moved to China, meaning it's much easier for the Chinese government to get to them?
No, I wouldn't get caught up in the where's the location of it. I mean, we have servers located in many different countries in the world. They're not easier to get data from being in one country versus the next. The key question is, how does the encryption process work, and who owns the keys, if anyone? In most cases for us, you and the receiver own the keys.
I am here because there is a concerted effort by the Democratic Party and multinational corporations and big tech to silence conservative and nationalist and populist voices ahead of this critical midterm election.
So I want to move from one part of the Bill of Rights to another, freedom of speech.
Yep.
How did you decide to ban Alex Jones?
What users want from us, and what we've always provided them, is a curated platform. We think that what the user wants is someone that does review these apps, someone that does review the podcast, someone that on like Apple News, where a human is selecting the top stories. And that's what we do. We don't take a political stand. We're not leaning one way or the other. You can tell that from the stuff on the App Store and in podcasts, et cetera. You'll see everything from very conservative to very liberal. And that's the way I think it should be.
But at what point were you like, okay, that's it, Alex Jones has to go?
I don't really get into a singular kind of event, but I think there's enough there that reasonable people could agree that if you're going to curate, that should be off.
Did you coordinate with other tech companies to kick off Alex Jones?
No. I've never even had a conversation about this with any tech company.
Why not?
But why? We make our decisions independently. And I think that's important. Honestly, I've had no conversation, and to my knowledge, no one at Apple has.
You seem like a very nice guy, and your
Thank
commitment
you.
to privacy is very admirable, but you also run a $1 trillion company, which is another way of saying you have a lot of power. So what happens if you change your mind? Or the person who comes after you doesn't agree with you?
Well, first of all, we don't really think of ourselves as a $1 trillion company, just to be clear. In terms of power, I've never felt like I had any power. That's not how I look and think about the world. In privacy, I guess I would say this. If you look back at what Steve said, I think you would find a tape. I know I saw one the other day that was probably 10 years old or so.
Privacy means people know what they're signing up for in plain English and repeatedly.
That's a pretty simple kind of view, which I think is profound. This is our company. This is how we think, the royal we. This is our culture. And so I think the next person, I don't want to commit them, but I can't imagine it. It's not in my imagination that somebody would just say, oh, time to change. I don't see it.